Greetings to you all and welcome to the lesson. The subject is financial management. During the last lesson, I introduced the new chapter on financing decision, and we began by studying the nature and objectives of financing decision. During that lesson, we said that the nature of financial decisions varies from one firm to the other. We said that it may also be different for the same firm over a period of time. And the reason being that the nature of financial decisions is influenced by the prevailing microeconomic and macroeconomic conditions. We went further to study 5 microeconomic conditions. 5 microeconomic conditions. Microeconomic conditions. We discussed 5 microeconomic conditions, beginning with the nature and size of a firm, nature and size of a firm. We discussed how the nature of a firm influences the financing decision. We also discussed how the size of a firm can influence the financing decision. During that lesson, we also discussed how the level of risk and earnings. We discussed how the level of risk and earnings may influence the financing decision of a firm. The other factor is liquidity position. By now, candidates, you know how liquidity position of a firm can influence the financing decision of a firm. Number 4, asset structure. The asset structure and what we called the ownership, the pattern of ownership and pattern of ownership. Then lastly, we studied how the attitude of management can affect the financing decision of a firm. These are 5 microeconomic factors or conditions. That's what we covered in our last lesson. In today's lesson, I want us to now focus our attention on the macroeconomic conditions. Macroeconomic conditions. Macroeconomic factors or conditions. These are conditions that may influence financing decision of a firm. The macroeconomic conditions, candidates, are the factors that are beyond the control of the management. These are environmental factors that are beyond the control of the firm's management. Unlike the microeconomic conditions, which we said, these are factors that are internal to the organization. These are factors that can be influenced or they can be controlled by the management. On the other hand, macroeconomic conditions, these are conditions or factors beyond the control of the firm's management. They are beyond control. They are external factors. All right? An example is, say, the state of the economy. One factor is the state of the economy. the state of the economy. The state of the economy. How can the state of the economy influence the financing decision of a firm? Remember, we are discussing the macroeconomic factors that have an impact on the financing decision of the firm. Now, candidates, we know that the state of the economy changes from time to time. And therefore, the financing or the financial decisions of a firm should also conform to such changes. The economy changes from time to time. And if the economy changes from time to time, that means that the financing decisions that are made by a company will have to change in order to conform to the changes in the external environment. For example, when the economy is growing or it is proceeding towards recovery, the finance manager should be eager to avail investment opportunities. But when the economy is facing a slump, then the finance manager should proceed with care. When the economy is on a downtrend, then that means the finance manager should shy away from investing in new projects. So this economy could be recovering or growing. Economy can also be slowing down, what we are calling a slump. So those two economic conditions, the state of the economy, can affect the financing decisions of a company. All right? And candidates, when the economy is facing a slump, it would not be advisable to go for an expansion program, because an expansion program would call for sourcing of financing, say, from debt. So when the economy is not doing well, when the economy is on a downtrend, then the finance manager should avoid investing in new projects. The finance manager should do what? Should shy away. The finance manager should avoid expansion programs. Okay? State of economy. Now, on the other hand, candidates, when the economy is experiencing an uptrend, then the finance manager can opt for trading on, say, equity. Why? Because larger profits are assured. When the economy is doing well, then the finance manager can choose in raising capital through equity, because the profits in such an economic state of affairs, profits are assured. But in terms of downtrend, then the stress should be on internal financing. When the economy is in a slump, then it's not advisable to seek financing from external sources, because internal sources of capital are cheaper than the external sources. So when the economy is, a company is operating in bad times, okay, in times of downtrend, then the stress should be on internal financing. And again, candidates, during an uptrend, during what? During an uptrend, higher dividends can be declared. Higher dividends can be declared. But during a downtrend, then a conservation of cash is necessary. And therefore, strict dividend policy should be followed. Do you understand? Do you understand, candidates, how the state of the economy can affect financing decisions? I'm saying here that during uptrend, the company may make profits. The company can generate profits, and profits we know are can be used to pay dividends. So during uptrend, then the company will not, when the economy is doing well, then that means that the company can declare dividends. But when the economy is not doing well, the company should, instead of paying dividends, the company should have what we call a conservative dividend policy. A conservative dividend policy is where now a company shies away or fails to declare dividends. Instead, the earnings are used to finance the company's internal projects. So the state of economy, we've said here that we have when there is a uptrend and downtrend. All right? Uptrend and downtrend. So during the uptrend, the company can develop a liberal dividend policy. But when there is a downtrend in the economy, then this should be, the company should develop a conservative dividend policy. So you can see how the state of the economy can affect financing decision of a company. When there is an uptrend, when the economy is, say, experiencing growth or recovery, during that time, the company may have earnings. And given that the company has earnings, then the company can have a liberal dividend policy. Liberal dividend policy means that a company can declare dividends. But when there is a downtrend, when there is a slump in the economy, then during that time, a company is advisable to conserve the earnings by developing a conservative dividend policy where dividends are not paid, but the earnings are used to finance the projects of a company. So you see, these are decisions that affect the financing of company projects. Okay? So the state of the economy, which is a macroeconomic condition, has an impact on financing decision of a company. We've said that macroeconomic conditions are conditions that are beyond a company, are conditions that a company cannot control. A company may not have control over the state of the economy, but these macroeconomic conditions directly affect the financing decisions of a company. So the state of economy candidates can also be denoted by the structure of capital and money markets. All right? The state of the economy can also be denoted by the structure of a company and the money markets. And if the capital market is well developed, having a multitude of financial institutions and venturesome investors, the finance manager will find it easy to select the proportion mix of capital structure. And accordingly, financing decisions will be broader. Financing decisions will be what? Will be broader. Because the finance manager can manage with a comparatively lower amount of cash. Why? Because he or she can get funds whenever the company needs the cash. Do you understand? The state of the economy, I'm saying, candidates can be denoted by the structure of capital and money markets. All right? The state of the economy can be denoted by the structure of the capital and money markets. These are two markets, capital markets and money markets. Capital markets are markets where long-term securities are traded, whereas money markets are markets where the short-term securities or instruments are traded. So if the capital market is well developed, having many financial institutions and many venturesome investors, then the finance manager will find it easy to do what? To select a proportional mix of capital. And financing decisions will be broader. Other than equity, there could be markets for derivatives, market for other forms of equity, debentures, equity, preferred shares, derivative instruments like the futures, the contracts. So if the market is well developed, then the finance manager will have a broader market to source financing for a company. And such a manager can comparatively can manage with lower amount of cash. If cash is readily available in a developed capital market, and a finance manager can easily get money as he or she desires, then it's possible for the finance manager to work with the lower amount of capital or cash. Why? Because he or she can easily get money when the money is needed. So candidates, that's a very important point, because the state of the economy is denoted by the capital and the money market. But on the contrary, where the capital market is not well developed, where it's not easy to raise long-term funds, for instance, then the finance manager should work towards having enough equity, all right, long-term funds within the company, because of the easy availability of capital in the capital market. All right? So candidates, the dividend policy could also be broader in such cases. I'm talking about the case where the capital is easily available to a finance manager. In such a case, the dividend policy will be liberal, because the finance manager will not necessarily have to rely on the earnings of the firm to declare dividends, or to rely on earnings to finance the projects of a company. Where capital is easily available, then it's easy now to have, say, a liberal dividend policy. Shareholders can be paid easily without weighing or checking whether capital will be availed when needed by the finance manager. All right? Capital and money markets. The next macroeconomic condition is number 2, government policy. Government policy. Now, apart from the state of the economy, government policy is also significant in influencing corporate financial decisions. Almost all governments intervene in businesses, what we call state intervention. or state regulation. It is found in almost all countries. And therefore, the corporate investment decisions are governed by the nature and the extent of state regulations. We've even here in Kenya had government having interest caps. The government recently put in place a capping on interest rates, and this has a direct impact on financing decision of a company. When a government caps an interest rate at, say, 14%, we saw in Kenya it had an impact on financing decisions on the loans that are given to companies and so on. So government policy, which is done through a regulation, when the government puts in place a regulation of the conduct of businesses, that will have an impact on the financing decision of a company or a firm. And government policy is beyond the control of any firm, because this policy affects all the companies in a certain industry. A firm may not have control over government policy, yet government policy has a direct impact on the financing decision of a firm. So candidates, these are two macroeconomic conditions and 5 microeconomic conditions. These are the factors that affect the financing decision of a firm. If you are asked a question, say, and I'm going to give you an assignment. Explain 7 factors that may influence financial decisions of a firm. That is your today's assignment. Thank you for your time. I hope to meet you. In our next lesson, we will continue to study financing decision. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.